I think one of the densest frequencies is resentment, and when we, you know, regret, guilt, those emotions that keep us thinking in an old way with an old scenario going in our minds.
Yeah, because it loops. I call it the looping.
Right.
And once we start to loop, then that becomes our reality. So we keep living the
So
thing.
how do we ever break those frequencies, those looping frequencies?
Well, in Life Shift and how I work with people, is that you first of all, you have to acknowledge what you're feeling. Like, I'm angry, blah, 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 because it gives you information.
But some people are always angry, or
because they're looping.
Right.
All right. So they're in the brain it lets off a chemical inside its little self, and it goes, I'm angry. This is good. I'm doing something.
Right.
It doesn't realize that this is negative.
And it also gets addicted to those chemicals of anger.
Yeah. Or sadness.
Right, and if it's not if someone's not having those emotions, if they've been addicted to those chemicals, they'll look for a reason to get angry.
Totally. So everything is seen through the filter of anger.
Right, or sadness.
Or potential anger.
Yeah. So what do you do to get people out of that loop?
So you do the emotional healing work, which is the life-shifting work. So I have them breathe. I have them breathe into the feeling. Acknowledge what it is. And specifically, I'll have them talk to the person that they're angry at. And I'll start with, like, so for instance, if they're angry at their mother, I'll make them dialogue, because I can say, okay, go back to about 6 years old. What was happening then? And then from this 6-year-old, their inner child, they're a 6-year-old child. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 12. It depends on where it is. I'll start a whole dialogue, which is, I feel sad that, and I'll have them go into that. I feel hurt that. I feel afraid that. I feel angry that. So I have them start to express it. Once they express it, then I have them release it, because they start to realize that, you know, demand's what you want. I start to change the experience from feeling victim and, like, squashed down to feeling like they can be on top of it.
Right.
Then I have them imagine a whole different scenario going on. And that's where the healing takes place, because they're out of the trauma and they're into the possibility of a whole different experience in their lives. And then we open up to the idea of, like, what do you want to create?
And that starts to clean out the junk, and then you infuse a higher light frequency, so it makes it harder for them to go back to that past.
Right, because we're in the brain, and even in the emotional structure, we're creating new pathways.
Yeah.
So when you're under stress, you go back to the old. When you've created new ones and you raise the frequency to a higher level, then when you're under stress, you go to the higher frequency, not the lower frequency, which is where you want to go. You don't want to be thinking, oh, this isn't going to work, hopeless, hopeless, hopeless. You want to go into seeing it working. And that takes training. It's like going to the gym. But if you're working with an energy healer, like myself, who's done this for so many lifetimes and, you know, years now, 40 on the planet. So you're basically going, you can transfer that ability to shift quickly into their cells. So for instance, when you're sitting in front of a high-level guru and you're meditating, you can feel the energy. It's a transference. So I'm able to transfer that feeling to them so that it awakens that inside of themselves.
Because you're holding it in yourself. You're holding that, and then they're resonating with that. So you're actually sort of lifting them in a way.
Right. So they get to feel what it feels like, and then they can do it. They start to be able to do it. And that's why they can change so quickly and really say, oh my God, Aleta, this miracle, that thing. Because it's about self-activating their ability to heal themselves in their DNA and in their whole genetic patterning.
Right.
Because often we're taking everything from our family pattern into our lives. And that's where it becomes really difficult.
Right. So if people can see it, observe it, and witness their own patterns, self-destructive patterns, they can raise themselves above it and say they have a choice.
Right, exactly.
But if they're not conscious of it, they don't have a choice.
No, they think that this is how it is. And when they say you create your reality, you create your reality. And the more you work with this, the more you realize that's true. You know, happiness is not about getting a specific thing. It's about a state of mind.
Yeah.
And when you're in that state of mind, then you're happy as you go through your day. So, it doesn't mean that you don't get upset. I think this is like, you know, crazy thinking that, you know, everything's bliss and I'm happy and blop and I love everybody and I never get pissed off.
No, people are still human.
Yeah, they're human, and you have to be able to express it, but you don't want to get stuck there.
Of course, you talk to people, you dialogue, and,
Oh, yeah.
and you see where they're at, and then as you tune in and you read their field, you talk about what you're seeing there and what's in the way of their movement.
Right, and how, and then we actually do something about it. It's not information. Information is just to like say, okay, this is where we're going, let's shift it, let's create a different paradigm for yourself, and then lock in the energy of what you want. And because I'm an energy healer, I can help raise the frequency so they get the idea and the feeling of what it's like to vibrate at that level.